Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, you picked the perfect story to walk in on, because this one is going to hit you somewhere deep. And before we begin, if stories like this move you, go ahead and hit that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss one. Now let's talk about Marcus Webb, a man who showed up to Vertex Technologies every single morning at 6:58, 2 minutes before the building unlocked, carrying donuts for people nobody else remembered, quiet and steady and loyal for 11 years. The kind of man who never asked for applause and never got it, whose real job was holding the entire company's digital infrastructure together with calm, focused precision that nobody noticed until everything was about to fall apart. And things were falling apart because for 6 weeks Vertex had been under a slow, crawling cyber attack, patient and surgical. Someone probing every blind spot in the system the way a careful thief maps a house before breaking in. And Marcus had seen it early, flagged it in reports, sent emails to the IT director, to the VP of operations, twice to the executive suite. And none of them had moved with the urgency the situation deserved. The new CEO, Diana Hartwell, had arrived 8 months earlier from a San Francisco startup, brilliant and sharp and relentlessly focused on growth, looking at the horizon while Marcus was watching the ground beneath their feet. And then, on a Thursday evening in October, Marcus saw it. One small data packet slipping through the firewall in a pattern he recognized from a ransomware case study 3 years ago. And his stomach dropped, because they weren't probing anymore. They were inside. He called his supervisor Tom Briggs at 7:15 that evening, and Tom told him to log it and bring it to Monday's meeting. And Marcus sat at his desk for a long moment after hanging up, staring at the screen. And then he opened a new monitoring window, cracked his knuckles, and made the quiet, personal decision that would cost him everything and save the company from ruin. He did not go home that night, alone in the dark as the building emptied out around him like water draining from a tub. Marcus Webb went to war, tracing dormant scripts buried in the backup servers one by one, isolating them, quarantining them, reverse engineering their code, his hands shaking slightly from caffeine and adrenaline while his mind stayed clear and cold and completely focused. By hour 20, the attackers escalated, pushing a new intrusion through a third-party vendor integration that technically existed outside his defense perimeter. And he almost missed it, almost, until a single anomalous ping at 2:47 in the morning caught his eye, and he pivoted immediately, spinning up a new firewall configuration from scratch and cutting the connection before the intrusion fully activated, then pressing the heels of his hands against his burning eyes in the dark and drinking more bad coffee, and keeping going. By Friday morning, colleagues were trickling in around him, seeing him disheveled and bloodshot, surrounded by empty cups and wrappers, asking if he was okay, and accepting his answer that he was finishing something up. Because this was Marcus, he was always finishing something up. And at 11:43 Friday morning, he executed the final coordinated flush of the remaining malware threads, temporarily took down 4 internal servers, restored them from clean backup images in under 9 minutes, watched the last one come back online with a clean status indicator, leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and breathed for the first time in what felt like days. The attack that could have destroyed Vertex Technologies, compromised 200 corporate clients, triggered lawsuits and regulatory collapse, had been neutralized by one man, alone, over 48 hours, and nobody in that building had any idea. Marcus put his head down on his desk at 12:05 in the afternoon and was asleep in seconds. And at 12:17, Diana Hartwell walked through the floor with 2 executives and an external board member, saw him immediately, slumped over his desk, sound asleep in the middle of a Friday workday, watched the board member raise an eyebrow, felt her jaw tighten, and stopped at Tom Briggs's desk to say in a voice that left very little room for interpretation that she wanted a performance review and the appropriate HR process followed because we do not pay senior analysts to sleep on the job. And by 4 o'clock that afternoon, Marcus was sitting across from Tom and an HR representative in a small glass meeting room, still groggy, still processing, hearing words like professional standards and conduct expectations wash over him like static, looking at Tom who had told him to bring it to Monday's meeting, and feeling something in his chest go very quiet and very cold. And he signed what they asked him to sign and collected his small cardboard box and walked out of the building into an overcast Atlanta afternoon and sat in his car for a long time without starting the engine. But on Saturday morning, Priya Subramaniam came in for routine system checks and found the network logs. 48 hours of complete documented proof. Every intrusion attempt and every countermeasure and every restored server written in clean, technical language. And she read it twice and sat down very slowly and called Diana Hartwell. And that call lasted 40 minutes. Diana called Tom Briggs next, and that conversation was considerably shorter and considerably less pleasant. And on Monday morning, Diana Hartwell drove to Marcus Webb's apartment herself, no assistant, no HR representative, just herself, stood on his front doorstep in the autumn cold, looking for possibly the first time in her professional life, genuinely uncertain. And Marcus opened the door in jeans and a university sweatshirt, holding a mug of tea, and looked at her with the calm, unreadable expression of a man who had already made his peace with something. She told him everything, what Priya had found, what it meant, the 47 client portfolios that had been in the crosshairs, the regulatory consequences, the reputational destruction, the lawsuits that hadn't happened because of him. And she told him she had been wrong, and she was sorry. That his job was waiting with a formal apology in his file, and a significant salary increase, and the title of VP of Cyber Defense, and a direct reporting line to her office, and the resources he had been requesting for 6 weeks. And Marcus looked down at his tea, and looked back up at her, and said, "You should have listened when I flagged it the first time." And she said, "I know." And he said, "Tom should have taken my call seriously on Thursday night." And she said, "Tom is no longer with the company." And after a silence, he said, "I need a few days." And she said, "Take whatever you need." And he came back on Thursday, not for the validation, and not because the apology had healed everything, but because the work mattered, and the people depending on it mattered. And because Diana Hartwell had stood on his doorstep alone, without lawyers or spin, and said the 2 words that powerful people find hardest to say. And he walked back through those front doors with his badge and his coffee and a box of donuts, because it was the first Friday of the month, and the receptionist Bree saw him come through and quietly started crying, and then laughed at herself for crying. And he handed her a donut, and she laughed again, and something in the building breathed out. And Marcus set his box down at his new corner office desk with the proper dual monitors and the upgraded security software, and opened his laptop to 412 unread emails, and cracked his knuckles, and started at the top. Because this story was never really about the cyber attack, or the firing, or the corner office. It was about the 48 hours, when no one was watching, when there was no recognition coming, no guarantee of reward, when Marcus made his choice in complete silence and complete anonymity, because he believed the work mattered more than the credit. That is the rarest kind of integrity, the kind that functions in the dark. And if that is you, if you are the quiet architect of something that would collapse without you, the one who notices what others overlook and acts while everyone else schedules a meeting about it, then this story is for you. Because your work is not invisible forever. Proof has a way of surfacing. The logs don't lie. The systems you saved keep running, and the disasters that didn't happen because of you are in their own quiet way monuments to everything you did. Keep going. Keep showing up, even when no one is watching, especially then. And if this story moved you, please share it. Hit the like button, leave a comment with the name of someone in your life who deserves a Marcus moment, and subscribe, because this community is built on exactly this. Stories about the people who hold things together when no one is looking.